It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
It is showtime. What's happening, everybody? It's Wednesday. Halfway to the weekend. It is the Geno Jones Show. I know. You figured it out, right? You see the name in the background. So I come to you live Monday through Friday, right here, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. in Chicago, or maybe you're in St. Louis or Milwaukee or Houston, Texas, New Orleans, Louisiana. 3:30 p.m. out on the West Coast, out in Los Angeles, San Francisco, up in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle or Portland. Please subscribe to the Geno Jones channel. Please share this and every episode, and like every episode. Go back and binge watch all of my episodes. 1 year of episodes. We're gonna have a big celebration, my 1 year anniversary coming up sometime soon. We'll tell you more about that later. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, by the way, if you'd like to be a sponsor, if you'd like to advertise, I'd be honored to have you. If you're looking for the ultimate pitchman or brand ambassador, I am the man for you because I am the king of pitchmen. Leave me a message, Geno Jones Show @gmail. That's how you spell Geno right there with the E, Jones, Jones, just in case. Everybody's not a great speller, I got you. All right, today on Wednesdays, so on designated Wednesdays, the theme is Get Well Wednesday. So we're gonna get right into Get Well Wednesday. My guest, frequent guest, he is one of the top voices in the medical profession. This man, his resume is impeccable. Been practicing medicine for a couple decades now, and truly not only one of the leading voices in the medical community, definitely one of the leading voices among black doctors here in America. Ladies and gentlemen, here in South Carolina, here in the Charleston Metro, he's globally, internationally known and just a good man. There he is on camera. Glad to have him back on the show, Dr. Thaddeus John Bell, with the Dr. Thaddeus John Bell swag there, with the blazer there. Looked like he got the Versace blazer, but Dr. Bell, you tell me it's not Versace. It's just your standard office gear. You come to work. Like
it's just my regular lab coat. I have about a dozen of them, and I like to be color coordinated. So it makes me feel good when I walk in my office, and I say, well, my blue jacket goes with what I got on today. So that's the way I try to roll, my brother. I try to be like you, Geno.
No, well, listen, the late great comedian, my brother John Witherspoon said, you got to be coordinated. So you're coordinated there.
That's right.
So it's a
I've always heard that if you look good, people will pay attention to you than if you look bad.
If you look, you're right. If you look good, they say, if you look good, you and I were both athletes. If you look good, you play good. And if you play good, you get paid good.
That's
good.
Right.
And if you look good, you think good and act good, and the rest
That's
is history. Right. So Get Well Wednesday. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna, like DJ Cassidy would say, I'm gonna pass you the mic. There's been still a lot of talk about COVID. I guess there's good news and bad news. Looks like the infection rates are going down. It looks like, I do believe you can confirm and update the latest numbers, that the vaccination rate, not just nationwide, but especially in the black community, has gone up, even though we got flu season, and I know that's a connection. So I'm gonna toss you the mic. I'm just gonna let you pick it up wherever you wanna start, and I'll just follow your lead.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And I want to acknowledge that I always appreciate being on your show. As you get older, your invitations to be on shows as much is not as often. So anytime someone think that I have something to say, I always, particularly at this point in time in my career and in my life, I always want to acknowledge how much I appreciate it.
Well, we
So I
appreciate you.
want you to know
Thank
I
you.
appreciate the platform. Um, you, with reference to South Carolina, well, first of all, in the nation, we have unfortunately experienced over 715,000 deaths, 715,000 deaths. And many of those deaths did not have to happen. I have noticed on television more frequently that they are now showing people who are actually getting ready to go on the ventilator or who have come off of the ventilator, trying to encourage people to take the vaccine. And unfortunately, they've shown people who are dying and their families are standing on the outside saying goodbye to them. I never thought that I would see that kind of thing on television, Geno, but I would imagine that the press feels like that's what they have to do to try to get the attention of people. And interestingly enough, they're showing more and more African Americans. And so I hope that that will work.
Dr. Bell, if you don't mind, let me just jump in here because while you were talking about that, I want you to personalize this. As a doctor, as someone that you've been in the business of saving lives for decades. I know we've talked in the past. Early in your career, you were an emergency room doctor. How hard is it for you to see the hesitation and the lies and people manipulating people who are fully vaccinated, telling people not to get vaccinated and that vaccines are a hoax, and then you got people showing up to school board meetings, threatening school board members, talking about we don't want tyranny and my child needs to breathe, and then you see kids in hospitals kids on ventilators and dying. Just if you don't mind, if you would, could you just personalize this? How does this make you feel as a doctor and just as a human being? How have you coped over the last year and a half? Because I've seen so many stories, and just knowing you like I have, I know but I've never asked you this either in private or in publicly in person. How hard has this been, and how frustrating is it for you?
Well, I want to let folk know, as a primary care physician, my practice is based mostly in my office. So I don't go to the hospital as much as I used to back during the day. So I don't put people in ICU or put them on the ventilator. But my colleagues do, my younger colleagues do. And I get a chance to talk to my younger colleagues very, very often. And the thing that the public does not appreciate is how burnt out my younger colleagues are getting. And this is the issue, as one of them told me. We are accustomed to seeing people get sick in ICU and put on a ventilator if they are 65 and above. We are accustomed to seeing that. That's almost the natural order of things.
Yes.
But when we see people who look like us, who are often our friends, often our same age, life is still in front of them. And we have to put them on a ventilator. And we have to say goodbye to them.
Wow.
That's when it really, really hits home. And that's the thing that has burned out a generation of healthcare professionals. Folk forget that physicians, nurses, and other healthcare professionals who play a major role in taking care of people in ICU. These are young people. They are human just like the rest of us.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And at the end of the day, when you are seeing 4 and 5 people expire, and there's absolutely nothing that you can do for them, and you notice that they expire because they didn't take the vaccine. If they had taken the vaccine, they may have gotten sick, but they certainly would not have come to the point where they were on a ventilator and dying. It takes this toll. And so, Geno, as a result, nationally, we are seeing a significant number of young healthcare professionals, doctors and nurses, who are burning out. Many nurses are leaving the profession. The suicide rate among doctors has gone up.
Really?
Many of these doctors are experiencing PTSD, the same kind of PTSD that you got to know with folk who came from the Vietnam War and Afghanistan and et cetera. These younger people are experiencing the same thing. Now, what I'm beginning to notice, this is what I experienced. I experience when I'm taking care of an older person and that person is doing well, and then someone from the outside, a child, a grandchild, come into their space, not knowing that grandmama got 5 or 6 pre-existing medical conditions. Stay around grandmama, kiss grandmama, and etc. Then leave, and then a week later, grandmama now is in ICU on the ventilator. I have already lost several patients who, were not only good patients, but they were good friends. Okay? And we talked about this. And in spite of all of that, we see this happening. The thing that I'm concerned about, and I think I mentioned this to you before, is that we are going to see a generation of healthcare professionals as well as young people be lost. Yeah. I noticed in Colombia, either today or yesterday, they had a group of people to put flags on the state house of all of the teachers who had passed away from COVID within the past several months. And it was just unbelievable. And that's not to mention, even my pediatric colleagues are telling me how the number of cases of COVID is increasing in the pediatric age group. And a significant number of these people are African Americans. So I'm totally distressed anytime I hear this, and I'm just like the rest of the public. My heart goes out. The other thing that I'm a physician, so I try to stay away from politics, but COVID has been so politicized.
Yes.
And as a result of the being so politicized, we have noticed that the number of red states that are controlled by governors who are red governors, the percentage of COVID and death in the red states is significantly higher than the percentage of deaths of governors who are in the blue states who are taking COVID seriously. And I'm just trying to say to myself, wow.
And let me just jump in on that point, if you don't mind. So here's for me, the sick, insidious thing about that. Because on one hand, why would you encourage your constituents or people who voted for you or who you need to vote for you again? Why would you encourage them to practice things like not wearing masks? Why would you not encourage being fully vaccinated, why would you not encourage them to make sure that their kids are vaccinated? Because you put your potential supporters at risk of dying. So just from a purely political, from a selfish, not even from a standpoint of just humanity, from a purely selfish, self-interest, from a political point of view, it doesn't make sense. It's stupid. It just,
You're
and I'm
absolutely right
not, that's
about
just
that.
my opinion. I'm not asking you to
No,
respond to
no,
that,
no,
but
no, no, no. You're absolutely right about that. But the hypocritical thing about it is that many of these governors have already had COVID, have already gotten the
yeah,
vaccine, have already done the kinds of things that they need to do to protect their life.
yes.
And oftentimes they may not tell you. I mean, even our past president, a lot of people don't realize that that rascal got the COVID shot way before it was even approved by anybody.
Yes.
Okay, and had done all of the things that he discouraged people from doing. I mean, you just have to say, wow, wow, that is really crazy. So um, I'm just impressed. And then of course I've been following, as I'm sure you have, Kyrie Irving.
Right. And for
And
and for those who don't know, so this is a young man. He's an NBA superstar. He's won an NBA championship when he played with LeBron James in Cleveland. Now he's in Brooklyn, New York, playing for the Brooklyn Nets. One of the best players, not just in basketball, one of the greatest basketball players in the history. Um, he was very active. The whole social justice movement last summer when George Floyd was murdered. As a matter of fact, he has financially supported the George Floyd family. But Kyrie he's a different kind of dude, to say the least, Dr. Bell. And so he's taking a very curious stance about not getting vaccinated. And I'll just let you pick up. For those who may not have known, who may not follow sports.
and would you please point this out? What's going to happen to him? Then I want to, with reference to how much money he makes and what they've decided to do. You can do a better job with that than I can.
Okay, so here's the bottom line. So now his team, the owners of the team, the general managers, and a couple of his teammates, NBA superstars, Kevin Durant, Kevin Durant led the U.S. Olympic basketball team to a gold medal over the summer. Many say Kevin Durant's is the greatest basketball player in the world right now. So he's right up there with LeBron. I'm not having that debate, but we know who Kevin Durant is. James Harden, also one of the greatest players currently in the NBA. Now, the interesting twist, Dr. Bell, is just my little earpiece here, is that Kyrie Irving went to play for the Brooklyn Nets first. He courted like he was dating. He courted him like you would court a woman and ask for her hand in marriage. He courted Kevin Durant. They were good friends. Hey, come to Brooklyn to play basketball with me so we can beat LeBron and win a championship. Then they went out and recruited James Harden. So Kyrie does not want to get vaccinated in New York City to go inside any major venue, arena. You have to be fully vaccinated, or you have to show that you've had a negative COVID test. So, and then in certain cities out on the West Coast, I know for a fact San Francisco, they have a similar ordinance. You cannot be in an arena unless you're fully vaccinated. So Kyrie Irving doesn't want to get vaccinated. He's just like, listen, I don't know. And the latest, let me point this out, Dr. Bell, I'm going to throw it back to you. So the latest, his latest position in terms of why he's not getting vaccinated now, he said, it's not so much, I don't want to get the vaccine, it's that I want to give a voice to the voiceless people who are losing their jobs because they choose not to get a vaccine if their job or employer, or if they work in a city like New York City, to where like all public employees are required to be vaccinated, or in some cases you could lose your job. So he's saying that him not getting vaccinated somehow is giving a voice to the voiceless. So I just wanted to set that up, and then you can go from a medical standpoint.
And the other thing that I think people need to understand is that the general manager came out yesterday and said, listen, we have made Kyrie aware that if he doesn't get vaccinated, he cannot practice with the team or play with the team. So that means that he is going to be missing somewhere around about $500,000 per game?
Well, yeah, actually, a game check, because in the NBA they get paid. They basically get 82 checks, 82 games. They get a game check. So one game check for Kyrie is almost $800,000. Now let's add this. So initially he was trying to position this thing where, okay, I can play road games in cities where you don't need to be vaccinated. So as you mentioned today, their general manager, a guy named Sean Marks, and basically I can guarantee you, Dr. Bell, that before the general manager made this decision, really started with the owner, because the owner spoke out in a nice way, said, listen, we all make sacrifices. We need to do, our number one goal is to win a championship. So I'm sure and they had a conversation with Kevin Durant and James Harden and said, listen, man, we've done everything we can, but this, I can't play at home, but I can play road games. They're like, look, we need you full time. You know, we're not paying you to be a part-time employee. Like you're saying, we're paying you damn near $1 million, around $800,000 a game. So we don't need you to be part-time. If you can't be full-time, it would be a distraction. Then just, we're going to move on without you. You have a right, as you say, right, you have a right to do what you want with your life, but as a business, they have a right to do what's best for their business.
And the young man said, well, I'm going to do my research. And apparently, and I'm sure that that the team managers got a number of people to sit down and talk to him, and he still would not budge on this issue.
And Dr. Bell, jumping in, because here, listen, you are a doctor. You may or may not know some of these doctors, but the one thing I do know, and I know you know this better than me, that the NBA teams, they have, no pun intended, they have a team of doctors and researchers and medical professionals. They have the best doctors, epidemiologists. They have access to the best medical minds in the world. A lot of those doctors work for these teams. Am I right or wrong?
Oh, you're absolutely right. But the thing that's interesting. So I thought about it and I said, I talked to the coach from Charleston Southern. I think I told you.
Yeah, you did.
African-American coach called me and he said, listen, most of my team is black, and I want you to come up here and I want you to talk to these black men about taking this vaccine. So I'm thinking of Kyrie. I'm saying, I wish I had the opportunity to talk to Kyrie, because I think that I would appeal to Kyrie on a different level. First of all, listening to where he's coming from. Now, if my memory is correct, Kyrie's father is still living, right?
Yeah.
When he built that house, as I recall, he built that house for his dad. I don't remember his mom being around, but I do remember his father being around.
His dad is around. His dad, as a matter of fact, was a pretty good basketball player. I forgot on what level. I think he had a short, brief stint in the NBA, but I believe he also was a star somewhere in Europe or in a foreign country. Now, right. He's African-American, and he's also identified. He's let us know that he is a native. He has Native American heritage also. So okay. I know there are people who are watching the show right now, or who will go back and binge watch this, that know Kyrie or can make sure that Kyrie sees this episode. So Dr. Bell, if Kyrie is watching this, if you had a chance to sit him down in your office, there you are in your office, Just one-on-one, have the conversation with Kyrie and tell him exactly what you would tell him.
Well, first of all, I would listen very closely to his concerns. And then I would remind him that he has a father who's probably about my age, 70 or above. And if he's a black man, he probably has pre-existing medical conditions. There are not very many of us who are going to get to be 70 that's not going to have pre-existing medical conditions. I would also remind him that a major disparity in health is the early death and very poor outcome of African American men in the United States. I would also remind him that the data suggests that that not getting the vaccine is devastating the African American community, particularly African American men. I would also remind him that if he has made a commitment to his teammates to play with them in a game that's a team sport, how are you going to play a team sport, one that requires you knowing where other people are on the court, et cetera, et cetera? How is that going to happen if you don't practice with them and play with them on a regular basis? I don't care what kind of professional or how good he is. All of them always talk about how it's important for them to play with one another. So I would remind him of those kinds of things. I would also remind him of the young people who must be the young boys and girls, young men and women, who are looking at him to say, wow, what is going on with Kyrie if almost 1 billion people in the world have taken this vaccine and it has saved their lives and protected their lives, and he is still sitting out there talking about the research that he has done has not convinced him. I would also like to find out what kind of research. When people do research, when people do research is just not going and reading a couple of articles. And as you have pointed out, he has had the best medical minds, I'm sure, the New Jersey Nets?
Brooklyn Nets.
The Brooklyn Nets have had doctors to come in. And I hope that they have had some African-American doctors. I have a patient in my practice who coaches with the Green Bay Packers.
Wow.
And he called me one day and asked me, he said, we're having some issues out here. Would you be willing to come out here and talk to some of our players? Because I got a feeling that they would listen to you, because oftentimes, even these professional teams, they don't understand when a black man walks into the room, someone who looks like them, who has the same experiences that they have, and can talk to them as one black man to another, that is a connection. Now, that never did happen. It never had to happen, but it was a possibility.
Okay.
But it did happen in Charleston Southern. And of course, when I went out there and talked to them, I told you how bad I felt. But the next day, the coach called me and said, hey, listen, what you said made a connection with the men that heard you.
Wow.
And we've had about 15 or 20 of them. And it's my understanding now about 85 to 90% of the team, black as well as white men, have gone and had the vaccine. So that's the way that I would try to talk to Kyrie. I would first sit down and listen to him, and then I would challenge him and listen to every reason that he gave me and gave him the facts. And then I would appeal to him as one black man to another, as one physician to another, as a man who has a responsibility to the other black men, young black men who are looking up at him, whose lives that he could save to make this decision. I think that that's the way I would deal with them.
Right. And not just their lives, but the lives of their family, like the story
That's
you
right.
told earlier, because one of those young men, unvaccinated, could have COVID, could be asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic, could go around their mom, his mom or dad or grandparent, who.
And if he had done the research, and I would ask him, are you aware of the research that currently shows that COVID is wiping out a whole generation of African American men who think just like you? And do you not think that while your contribution to basketball is going to be great, your contribution to saving just one life, if you made the right decision for yourself, would even be greater?
And on top of it, Kyrie, since you have, let the world know that you've realized, I don't know if he knew it all along, he never talked about it, but now he's made a point to emphasize the fact that he's African American and Native American. So the same problem in terms of health disparities in the black community, you have similar disparities, or maybe even worse among the Native American.
Even worse. Oh yes, even worse among American Indians. However, with that being the case, the vaccine rate among American Indians is really very good.
Good.
I won't give a number, but it's very good because they have predisposing medical conditions that parallel African Americans and maybe even greater, particularly diabetes and obesity. Mm. Yeah. So I think that that's the way I would try to talk to the young brother. That's the way I would try to connect with him, man.
Well, somebody sent a copy of this show to Kyrie. Listen, Kyrie, he's made about $200 million over his career. So, I'm sure, I hope anyway that he's been smart with his money. But this is bigger than money. And then you've got people who really don't give a damn and give a ish about people that look like him, who criticized him last summer because he felt that there was a time last year during the NBA playoffs, and really when they came back to play, when they were in the bubble in Florida, he was like, I don't even know if I want to play basketball, because he felt what was going on in the country was more important, and he didn't want to be a distraction from what was happening with just the police violence with George Floyd.
And here's the other thing that I read just the other day. Isn't it interesting that the people who think like him have not come to his defense?
Yeah. Well, now here's the interesting part, though. So there's a right-wing group that's trying to turn him into a martyr. But the point I'm making is those same people criticized him and told him he should just shut up and dribble and play basketball. But now, since he is kind of parroting and mimicking their talking points in that community, now they all of a sudden want to hold him up as a martyr. But those very same people, right-wing people, work for companies to where it's mandated that you are either fully vaccinated or you can't work for these companies. And these people are fully vaccinated.
Right.
So the hypocrisy, but the bad thing, Dr. Bell, with this hypocrisy for people like that, it's killing people. Like you said, I want you guys just to wrap your brain around that. And I'm gonna give you this number again that Dr. Bell gave us. And Dr. Bell, I want you, in closing, your final thoughts. There's something positive, and give us some advice in terms of the vaccines and vaccines when it comes to young people. Over 715,000 Americans have lost their lives since around March of 2020. So those are individuals.
Definitely. So you have to think 715,000 families.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I'm gonna let you take it. Perfect.
Think about the children and the mothers and the fathers and the the young married people. I saw the other day where a guy, they had just gotten married, they had a child. He had taken the vaccine. His wife would not take it. She got COVID. She died, left behind a young child that he's going to have to raise. His heart is broken because his partner did not make a good decision regarding taking the vaccine. My final point is this as well, and I think we talked about this the last time, but we definitely know that if you are an expecting mother, it is very, very important for you to take this vaccine. All of the GYN official organizations are encouraging women who are pregnant to take this vaccine, because we know that if you do not take it, the possibility of you losing your baby, you getting sick and dying is significantly elevated. So we want to encourage people to take the vaccine. And by the way, if you smoke, the data shows that if you smoke, the likelihood that if you get exposed to COVID, your outcome is going to be poor.
Wow.
And that goes for cigarettes as well as cannabis, as well as marijuana. So with that, I'm going to close. I definitely appreciate having the opportunity to be with you today, Geno. Thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you, Dr. Bell. If you don't mind, before you go, I just want you to speak to the vaccines that are going to be available soon for children, I believe, 5 to 11. What guidance and direction would you share with the viewers about that in terms of how they should handle parents?
My grandchildren, 2 of my grandchildren who are 12 and above have already had the vaccine. I have a grandson who's 8, so we are waiting for the vaccine that's going to be approved by Pfizer within the next, I would just say stay tuned, because right now the data is before the FDA and they are waiting for approval to take place. But for those folk who have already had the Pfizer vaccine, the booster is available. If you have a pre-existing condition, the bottom line is that you should take the booster. And here's something that folk may not know, but even though the FDA has not approved the 3rd Moderna shot, people are already getting the 3rd Moderna shot if they had Moderna. So I would say check with your doctor about that, particularly if you had the pre-existing condition. The Johnson & Johnson second shot has not been approved yet, but the data, from what I can understand, is looking encouraging. And so just be on the lookout that new information regarding the Johnson & Johnson second vaccine is going to be out there.
And get a flu shot, correct, Dr. Bell?
Oh, by all means. By all means, get a flu shot. I had mine 2 weeks ago, and I'm doing fine.
I'm getting mine this weekend. Dr. Thaddeus J. Bell, you are simply the best, my brother. Love and respect. Thank you. Always great advice, great information. Kyrie, this is a wise brother. He's got the receipts, partner, okay? He's a Hall of Famer in the medical profession. Like, you're going to be a Hall of Famer in the NBA. This brother's a Hall of Famer when it comes to medicine. So listen to the brother. Thank you, Dr. Bell, once again.
All right, man. Take care.
All right. That's Dr. Thaddeus J. Bell. Awesome brother. Thank you for letting me be a part of your life. As always, God bless each and every one of you. And God, most of all, thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show. I come to you live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central, 3:30 p.m. out on the West Coast. Please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. Kyrie, subscribe to the channel. I got good stuff here, man. It's entertaining, it's funny, it's compelling, it's hot. Check it out. All right, everybody, Kyrie and everybody else, subscribe to the Geno Jones channel. Please share this in every episode. Somebody out there, because I know folks is watching. Dre, maybe you out there in LA, contact some of Kyrie's people. Share this episode. Tell them to sit down and check it out. Listen to Dr. Bell. You don't have to listen to me, but listen to what Dr. Bell had to say. So subscribe to the channel, share this in every episode, copy the link, copy and paste the link. You can tag people's social media page, whatever you want to do. Instagram, you can go ahead and grab some of it and put it up on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Triller, on Facebook, and like every episode. Shout out to Mr. Markel Bailey, the official barber and hair stylist for the Geno Jones Show. Check him out on Instagram, KLB Cutting Up, KELBECUTTINUP. Alexandria Jones and Bruce Gage, the official stylist and wardrobe consultants for the Geno Jones Show. Alexandria Jones is on Instagram. She is _ line at the bottom, _ Lexi, LEXXIE, space Nicole, NICOLE Designs, or Alexandria Jones, ALEXANDRIA. And Bruce Gage, you can search Bruce Gage. Just do a search, GAGE. That's how you spell Bruce Gage on Instagram and on Facebook. I love each and every one of you. I really do. Mother, you know I love you more than life itself. All right, enjoy the rest of your day, afternoon, evening. Once again, y'all send Kyrie this episode, okay? Let him check this out. Listen to what Dr. Bell had to say. I know he's saying he's not anti-vaccine. He's just against people losing their job for not getting the vaccine. Well, listen, you have a right not to do it, but companies have a right to set rules. They do. That's a different conversation. We'll have that on another episode. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, everybody. All right, the next live edition of the Geno Jones Show is going to be Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a special tribute celebration of the life of a former co-worker, one of the greatest talents ever in radio. Great voice and one of the greatest quiet storm air personalities, the late Ron Chavis, a.k.a. the Nighttime Dog. So myself, me and a couple former co-workers going to share some stories and want to celebrate the brother's life. So that's going to be tomorrow. All right. Until then, got one more thing to say. As always, be blessed. Thanks for watching.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.